The world is a dark and miserable place. Thank you for attending to my TED Talk. When Terry McGinnis met Old Man Bruce, he was miserable and needed help. But no one was there for him.
My medicine.
He had also given up control of Wayne Enterprises and had become deeply ineffective in his own life. And within the big picture storytelling, from the animated series into the new adventures, Bruce's story all fits together to tell a beautiful tragedy about destiny and obsession.
I know I made a promise, but I didn't see this coming. I didn't count on being happy.
Where a lonely orphan made a promise to his dead parents, a promise which became a prison, where even when he found happiness, it wasn't allowed to flourish. He then finds another orphan, a son whose smile gave him one too. But then, Bruce's own cruelty would eventually cause this boy to leave him. His second son is then corrupted and destroyed by his worst enemy, but it wasn't the Joker that killed Batman, it was time itself. By the end of his career, all alone with no partners, only a fancy suit, his heart would give up on a random thug, and he'd need to use a gun to survive. So despite all the lives he saved, the difference he made, the communities and families Bruce was involved in the end, he rots away all alone as Gotham rots too. Until a young man stumbles into his home to re-inspire him. Destiny strikes again. Without Batman, Bruce lives without purpose. Without a young man to remind him who he should be, he falls deeper into an amnesiac state. DCAU Batman is a tragedy about obsession as a prison, and obsession as destiny. Although what's always bothered me is, where the f*** does Justice League fit in?
What about you, Batman?
I'm not really a people person.
Batman has a very clear arc in Justice League. First, he's an awkward guy who's reluctant to commit to the team. However, his various wars are eventually broken down. He doesn't take training seriously, but also apologizes for it. He mourns for the death of his bro.
Despite our differences, I have nothing but respect for you.
He's there to comfort John when Shira betrays him.
Women, don't be too hard on yourself. You didn't know she was spoken for.
And as a climax of sorts to the original series, during the Thanagarian occupation, he's the first one who takes the first steps in sharing his secrets, from secret identity to his home.
Gentlemen, it's been an honor.
So into Unlimited, not only is he not skeptical, but he deliberately fosters Green Arrow's involvement, so there is someone that is. In fact, the words he says to make Ollie believe were the very lessons he himself learned.
Those monsters you don't fight, they tend to step on little guys.
Furthermore, Batman goes out of his way to preserve and defend the League's integrity against Cadmus, and even stands in public with everyone, nodding at Superman to say it's alright. I can't stress how big this particular action is. He was once unable to join Superman's public funeral, and even a few episodes ago argued with Clark about the danger of the League. But when things calm down, he's there for his brother, and he believes all that he represents. Not to mention all of this, he grows to become deeply close friends with Wally West and has a romantic connection with Wonder Woman.
You've got my number.
I think so.
Where Batman's sons would leave him, his colleagues and true friends never did. And neither did he. Therefore, Bruce's world got less and less dark every day, to the extent by the end of the show, he even gives the villains who helped them against Darkseid a 5-minute head start.
You're getting soft in your old age.
Don't you have a tall building to go leap?
This dude with a smile at the end of the show is a beautiful climax to his journey, starting from all the way back in the anime series, where he was a warm guardian whose undying obsession turned him to a cold pragmatist.
Not in front of his family.
The sooner he talks, the sooner we leave.
But now he returns back to that warmth as a real superhero, a glue of a community.
Quis custodiet ipsos custodies.
Who guards the Guardians? We got it covered.
But there's also the issue of it doesn't make any goddamn sense in relations to Batman Beyond. Like, where did all this character development go? Are you telling me after this big arc, everything he's learned has been regressed?
Good to see you, Bruce.
It's been a while.
On one hand, the inconsistency is pretty simple. JLU was made after Beyond, so you can either dismiss its relevance, or maybe time travel from that one episode changed the trajectory of Bruce's future. And it's actually jollier than the fate we saw. We just didn't see it, because Beyond was the original timeline before we saw his future self.
Surprised to see me? A little. I'm more surprised that I lived so long.
Tell me about my son.
But if you keep it all together, there's also something especially poignant about all of this.
The only thing that matters is the mission. You know that.
What about people, Bruce? Dick, Barbara, Tim, Selena? They all loved you, but eventually every single one of them left you. Ever wonder why?
Not for an instant. They quit because when it came down to it, they didn't have the heart for the mission. Are you about to quit too?
Destiny and obsession is all that matters, and the best times Bruce had was ultimately fated as a distraction. In the same way Andrea and Dick made Bruce's life happy just for a moment, so did his time with the League, as a general and as a brother. In Epilogue, the episode which sort of thematically synchronizes Unlimited and Beyond into one, and was also originally intended to be the ending to the entire DCAU, Waller has an anecdote that shows who Bruce Wayne really is deep down inside. When Ace was about to die and her imaginative powers could have destroyed everything for miles and miles and miles, Bruce tasks himself with euthanizing her, but upon arrival, he actually throws it away. He relates with Ace losing her childhood due to the cruelty of others and the training that replaced it.
I got cheated out of my childhood.
I know what that's like.
You do, don't you?
And in this simple, heartbreaking moment, we see him as a warm angel delivering this kid to a better place. And more importantly, we also see him as a child too. This little kid that was a victim of an evil world, like Dick, like Terry, is a mirror for Bruce. Someone who provides absolute symmetry. Because you see, throughout the entirety of DCAU Batman's story, there's an overall pattern of Bruce being someone who had never truly grew up.
I haven't been a kid since I was 8 years old.
Behind all the sturm and batarangs, you're just a little boy in a play suit crying for mommy and daddy.
Does the hurt ever go away?
I wish I could say yes.
This Batman is not the Grant Morrison optimal human version where Bruce resolved his trauma every day by putting on the costume with his enlightened mental fortitude. Instead, the costume, the symbol, and the very meaning of his identity, Batman is that orphan kid frozen in time. A child's imaginative reaction to an adult's pain. It's the very reason why it required old man Bruce to bond with Terry's own loss for him to truly commit to living again.
I know how you lost your folks. The guy who murdered my dad is on that transport. This is my one chance to nail him.
He relates with young, traumatized kids more than he relates with people his age. And this is also why the story of Terry and Dick are the same. They're young boys Bruce fathered, but as they grew up loving and admiring him, Bruce couldn't reciprocate the same love, communicated, or even fully acknowledge his role as a father.
I may have pretended otherwise, but I looked up to you, worshipped you.
What you wanted from me, I couldn't give to anyone.
Tell me something I don't know.
The only compromise he has are acts of service, like an Asian parent.
Never too busy to stop and ask how my boy's doing. Mr. Wayne is a good man.
I made you some soup, but it's cold.
Sorry.
Bruce fundamentally cannot see himself beyond his mission because it would require him to see himself as being more than the mourning child. The boy crying for his mummy and daddy, as Joker so accurately summarized. He would need to come up with a different answer to his pain, a different way to cope, but it's been too long. Bruce's emotional maturity and emotional intelligence was never developed to the point of him being comfortable to live for someone else, or see himself as someone else. He is always that kid.
Don't let him fool you. Your death hit him as hard as it did any of us.
Really? No. I never believed you were dead in the first place.
I think this is one of the reasons why he gravitates so closely with Clark and Wally. They speak how they feel and they socialize and provoke that growth in him. So in a strange way, they actually look after him in ways that Bruce can't look after himself. Wally in particular, despite being the little brother of the League, is someone Bruce emotionally relies on so much that his death can turn him into a f***ing fascist in an alternate universe.
Central City builds statues to this fool. I don't understand.
No, you don't.
The League was the happiest time in Bruce's life because it was the period of his life where his mission wasn't lonely anymore, and he got to live his age, not by answering the needs of little boys, but by his brothers and sisters, his equals.
Awesome! You're a stand-up guy, Bats. Don't ever let them call you a crazed loner.
So if we treat the League with the same value in this theme of obsession, then Bruce's time with the League is another glimpse of happiness, like with Andrea and his Bat family. But we don't know what happened to him for his lonely obsession to overpower his love for his community. Perhaps as the founding members got older, settled down, and new members came in, Bruce just put more time into Gotham and eventually pushed everyone away without knowing. Or maybe on a metatextual level, it really doesn't matter. Justice League is Justice League and Batman Beyond Beyond as Batman Beyond. They may share the same continuity, but they exist in their own perpetual, never-ending second act borders of infinite adventures, so applying real-life linear temporal pressures is unnecessary. But what does matter is the combined story they tell. As Wallace said,
"The thought of a world without Batman was unacceptable."
in a world filled with suffering, filled with orphans, it needs an angel who is one themselves, and therefore knows how to look after them. Bruce both lives in an existential prison that requires him to be frozen, but it's inside it. He also gets to live the best of times and the worst of times, alone and with a community. At the end of Epilogue, Bruce Wayne's happy ending was making soup for Terry, who doesn't eat it but does open his pills, before going off and looking after Gotham, giving Bruce some relief. And that's kind of perfect.
You're a princess from a society of immortal warriors. I'm a rich kid with issues. Lots of issues.
It's not a race.